Hello, this is Jenny Kassan here to lay down the law for you about how to raise money from investors in a way that lets you stay true to your mission and values and goals, stay in control of your business, and at the same time not break the law while you're doing it. So I'm an attorney and a coach. I help mission-driven entrepreneurs raise money using creative strategies. I'm a big believer in knowing all your options before you choose your strategy for raising money. What I want to talk about this week is public versus private offerings to investors. So when you're raising money from investors, you do have to choose a strategy, what we call a legal compliance strategy, because no matter how you raise money from investors, there's always laws governing how you're allowed to do it. Whether you're aware of it or not, the minute you open your mouth and ask someone to invest in your business, there's some law that's actually governing how you're allowed to do that. And that's why, unfortunately, a lot of people inadvertently break the law when they're raising money for their business. So I just want people to be aware that there are these laws out there, and you need to understand them or have someone helping you who understands them, so that when you start asking for investment, you're not breaking the law. The good news, though, is that there are many options of how you can raise money and still not break the law. So one of the choices that you'll have to make when you're going out and raising money is whether you want to do a public offering of the investment opportunity or a private offering of the investment opportunity. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not talking at all about what you're offering to investors. You could be offering anything. It could be an equity investment in your business. It could be a convertible note. It could be revenue-based financing, any kind of investment. So we're not talking about the what today, we're talking about the how. So how you're making the offering. So you have to choose, do I want to be able to publicly advertise the fact that I'm raising money or not? Because of the laws that are meant to protect investors from making investing in things that end up being not good for them, the securities laws are designed to make it a little bit easier if you want to raise money privately, which means no public advertising. The law, if you don't go out and shout to the world that you're raising money, the legal compliance strategies are a little bit easier to comply with, because there's an assumption that if you can tell the world and send out mass emails and put it on social media, there's a little bit of a bigger risk that people will make investments that they shouldn't be making, that aren't good for them, that they're going to get confused or they're going to get misled. So one of the good things about a private offering of an investment opportunity is it's generally going to be less regulated. So it's something that you can do more quickly, more cheaply than a public offering. On the other hand, of course, a public offering is great because when you do choose a strategy that allows you to publicly offer your investment opportunity, you don't have to be careful about who you tell, how you tell people that you're raising money. I find that when I've done a private offering, I find that I'm always going like this, oops, because it comes so naturally to me to want to tell the world I'm raising money. But when you're doing a private offering, you really can't. You have to limit yourself to one-on-one conversations with potential investors. And with some private offerings, you can't even talk to an investor unless you first determined whether they're accredited, which means they're a wealthier investor. So all things being equal, I prefer to be able to publicly advertise to the world that I'm raising money, not be limited in how I'm allowed to communicate about that. Of course, on the other hand, like I said, to publicly advertise, there are going to be some more regulatory things you have to deal with. So let's see. So for a public offering of an investment opportunity, there's a few different regulatory tools that you can use to do that. Back in 2012, the Jobs Act passed, which added some more options. But even before that, there were ways that you could publicly offer an investment opportunity, and you could open up the investment opportunity to everybody. I always mention that Ben and Jerry's did that back in 1984 when they were first starting out. And those tools are still available. So there's multiple tools that are available that allow you to publicly advertise the fact that you're raising money. With the Jobs Act of 2012, it added Title III, which makes it possible to, for a fairly low cost and low effort, advertise to the whole country that you're raising money. And people all over the country can invest, and there's no limit on how many people can invest. You can set the minimum low. So that's really nice. But of course, there are some, hoops you have to jump through to be able to use that. There's also this other tool that was created under the Jobs Act called Rule 506C, which is a fairly easy way to publicly advertise the fact that you're raising money, but you do have to limit yourself to accredited investors only. If you choose to do a private offering, like I said, you do have to be careful. You have to not tell the world you're raising money, not put it on your website, not put it on social media. You have to have one-on-one private conversations with investors. But there are, a few options there as well. There are options for private offerings where you can include both accredited and unaccredited investors, so anyone can invest. So what you want to do when you're thinking about raising money from investors is decide fairly early on, definitely before you start talking to investors, which compliance strategy you want to use. Do you want to do a public offering or a private offering? And then within those two, which more specific compliance strategy do you want to use? I think what I want to talk about next time is instead of a how question, I want to talk about a what question. So what you can offer. So I want to talk about something called revenue-based financing, but using equity instead of debt. So I think a few weeks ago I talked about a type of offering you can make to investors that's revenue-based debt, where they're lending you money and you're paying them back over time based on the revenues to your company. There's also something called revenue-based equity that I want to tell you about. It's a really, really neat tool that's starting to get more popular. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that if you're interested in these what's and how's, what to offer to investors and how to do it legally, that's what 2 of the chapters of my book are completely devoted to. So step 3 of my 6-step process for raising money. Here, I'll hold up a copy. I happen to have a copy right here. Raise capital on your own terms, how to fund your business without selling your soul. So if you really want to dive into the legal compliance options and also what you can offer to investors, that's a big part of what's in the book. So to learn more about my book, you can find it anywhere you buy books, bookstores, online booksellers. You can also go to my website, jennykassan.com. And there's a tab on there that has a whole section about my book. It tells you more about the book, and it also gives you the option to download a couple of free chapters, so you can get an idea of whether it's something you might want to check out. So jennykassan.com, you can find a tab with my book. You can also go directly to jennykassan.com/raisecapitalbook. Please do join me next week where I will lay down the law again and share with you a really creative type of offering you can make to your investors. And what's cool about revenue-based equity is you don't have to have an exit event where you sell your company or do an IPO. Your investors can still be well compensated, and you don't have to be forced to sell your company before you're ready, or, to a buyer you don't want to sell it to. All right, have a good rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.